Good evening. We are going to be recognizing both our December and January athletes of the month, as our December female athlete was a girls basketball player and they had a game that evening, and so we wanted to make sure that she was able to receive her recognition. So I would like to ask Coach Molly Hennig to please come up.
Oh, the whole time? Oh, okay. Amari, you want to just kidding? I got you, Coach. All right.
So I nominated Amari as the November Athlete of the Month for many reasons. November feels like a long time ago, so I'm just going to talk about her whole season at this point. So in a very successful high school career, Amari has been a part of 48 wins, and hopefully many more this season. She has 792 points so far, 692 rebounds, and 142 blocks. This puts her 9th all-time in the Round Lake history in points scored currently. This season, she has been our leading rebounder, averaging 9 rebounds and 12 points per game. But aside from her impressive stat line, Amari has been a staple of our program for all 4 years that she's been a part of it. It's hard to imagine coaching without Amari. She came in when I came in as the head coach, and so picturing the program without her is really hard to do. As you can see, she brings a lot of life to the team. She is consistently working to make her teammates better by encouraging them and bringing energy on the court every game. Both Amari and her mom have also made me a better coach. But yes, they truly have. I've learned so much from both her and her mom, and I'm really going to take that with as she leaves and goes on to college. But more importantly than her show-stopping blocks, which if you've ever come to a game, she's literally blocked the ball into the stands multiple times, and her impressive reverse layups, which have gotten so much better than she was when she was a freshman, is how amazing of a person she is and how much she's grown in the 4 years that I've had to work with her. Her and Taylor have both become mentors, as they both were on varsity for 4 years, to many of the younger players on the team, not only on the court, but also to help them navigate their lives. And I think that's been one of the most special things to see this year from her, is just her taking some of them under her wing and really helping them throughout their high school years, and the school year especially. So, Amari, congratulations, and I'm going to miss you.
You guys come on up, get a picture.
Yeah, they said take pictures of us because we famous like that. That's so special. It's in a plaque. Not just the paper.
Right.
I'll have this one. I was like, I can't wait to right next to her. Right. Let's put mom there.
Congratulations.
Oh, no, put it mine. I got mine. Yeah, you missed the whole thing. Your coach said she's going to miss it. I did. Okay, yeah. Okay. Allison, do you want to come?
So for December, we had another athlete, Allison Dimmer. And Allison is the heartbeat of our team. Her efforts usually don't show up in the stats always for being our leading scorer or rebounder. But more importantly, at times though, is her energy brought to the defense by causing key turnovers for our opponents. And she also has 50 steals so far this year, which is awesome. But I think the person that can articulate better what Allison means to the team is her teammate herself. So our senior captain, Taylor Major, is actually going to talk about Allison for me.
Do I keep my mask on? Yeah. Okay, cool. I was just making sure. Oh, I'm finna cry. Okay. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Well, I'm trying to hold it in. Okay. If, like Coach said, I'm Taylor Major. I've been the captain for the last 2 years for the varsity basketball team, and I'm honored that Coach has offered me this opportunity to talk about Allison and how important she is to the team. It is my honor to give this speech to you, this award, because you deserve it. More than anything, you deserve it. I first started playing basketball with Allison on the Junior Panthers feeder team when we both attended Round Lake Middle School. It was crystal clear then that Allison had a passion for this sport, and although she stood just shy of 5 feet tall and affectionately the nickname Shorty. I'm sorry, I made to say that a few times because I've been saying it since I was in 7th grade, but yeah, Shorty is the name for Allison, and Shorty's just been, grown so much. But I'm gonna try to keep this short and light. I can go on forever about how great Allison is toward the team. I've never met anybody in my whole entire life at 5'3", 5'2", and a half, let's say that, to block anybody or out rebound somebody 6 foot and 6'1". Like, that's ridiculous. I can't even do it myself, so that's great. Shorty's hands down one of the best defenders on our team. She hustles every single play until she gets the ball or goes out of bounds, and she's very tough defense. She plays very tough defense the whole game, and I mean 42 minutes flat. It's crazy. I can't even do it. It's really great to see how far you've come and how far you've grown from seeing you, 6th grade Allison, maybe about 4'11", 4'10". Like, you were still super fast, you were super energetic, and you bring life to the team on defense. It may not show offensively, like Coach said, but defense, it really shows that we need you on defense. Shorty's been my little sister for the longest time. Allison brings defensive energy like no other. We knew that she had a huge impact on the team, but we truly didn't understand that 100% until we had to play Grant game without you. Defense was a lot harder that night, not having such a big piece of our team on the floor with us. You make defense a ton easier when you're on the court. Also, your offensive game has improved so much. Shorty wouldn't even dare to shoot or make a layup or attempt to try to make a layup, and now seeing you in practice doing it, I was like, wow, oh my goodness, that's great, and I'm so happy for you and how far you've come. We just got to work on it in the game, because you're going to make one before we're done, for sure. I remember in practice I told you the worst shot to take is when your foot is on the 3-point line. The second worst shot to take is not an open one. And from that point on, you've been shooting. Like, every time you're open, and I'm so proud of you. It's hard to speak words of how I'm so proud of you. I just want to say I'm extremely proud of you for how you've come and how much you've grown, and I'm happy that you're one of my greatest friends. I'm excited to see where the wind takes you for the rest of the season and your future basketball career. And I think I speak for the team. We love you and appreciate you for all the hard work and effort you put into the sport. And I'm so sad I'm leaving senior year, man. But yeah, congratulations. I'm so happy for you.
And I apologize, I did misspeak earlier and said December and January. That was November and then December. And then our December Male Athlete of the Month is one of our wrestlers. And I'm going to ask Coach Ruska to please come up and speak about him.
Oh, beautiful. A couple of years ago, I came here and I just took the mic and threw it. We've come a long way with these mics, man. Anyways, it's good to have you all here tonight. I would like to say I'm greatly honored and privileged to give this award to Aiden because he gets what he earns. And he earns it by his incredible work ethic. Not only the time he spends here in the wrestling room, but he goes to a Powhatan Wrestling Club and spends countless hours working with other really good wrestlers and really good coaches that give him that really hands-on experience, like one-on-one time. He does tons of camps in the summer, and he, if I had $1 for every hour him, his brother, and his sister spend training, I'd be living in a castle right now. So, anyways, amazing work ethic. Like I said, he earns everything, all his accolades, despite what he does. As far as the month of December, he's a December Athlete of the Month. He had a fantastic December. He was 15-4 in December. His 4 losses were to guys that are all ranked in state. He had also about 5 other guys that were ranked that he beat in that time period. Out of his 15 wins, 13 were by pin. So he's very dominant. So a fantastic month. He also had 2 runner-up performances in the month of December in like an 18-team tournament at the prospect tournament. He took 2nd place, and then he took 2nd place in the tournament in Wisconsin, which is like almost 40 teams. He took 2nd there. So as a matter of fact, when he wrestled in that tournament, and there was like 30 Wisconsin teams, or like 10 Illinois teams, they were so used to watching him wrestle in that tournament. He had a special move he uses. It's called a spladle, and they were so terrified of it that the fans in Wisconsin were saying, "What's the spladle?" to their Wisconsin opponent he had in the finals, because they knew that there's a good chance he'd pin him if he got him in that maneuver. So they were terrified, and you could just see that through the tournament. They were watching him, and they had great fear. It was more fear of anything else. They were totally afraid to represent themselves to him and open up, because they were about getting caught and pinned. So that's great respect when they flatten out like that because they're afraid. So anyways, great month. But since then, he's carrying on with that domination. His current record right now is 29-7 with 25 pins. So he's keeping that high ratio of falls up, which is unbelievable. I mean, a lot of kids only get 25 wins in a season. This guy's got 25 pins, and he's got more to go. The season ain't over yet. So he's rolling with the pins. He's dangerous. He's fun to watch. He's unpredictable. He's tenacious. He wrestles the whole match and more if he has to. He puts constant pressure on his opponents. So it's really fun to watch because he's never idle on the mat. He's always working to get pins and put people in their backs and score points. So it's fun watching him wrestle. And people, matter of fact, here was a great compliment another coach paid to me this other day when it was a 3rd place match. By the way, I just took 3rd in Lake County with 3 other guys, but 3rd in Lake County. We're wrestling the Antioch kid, and the coach from Antioch, I've got my glasses on. I'm so used to wearing these things, but they fog up, as you know. Anyways, so the Antioch coach goes, "What the hell am I doing?" It's like your car keys, right? Oh, no, it's stiff. Anyways, pardon me, I'm off task a little bit. But the Antioch coach goes, "You got any more McCains coming through your pipeline?" I go, "Well, we got one more, actually. She's a freshman, and her name is Ireland." He goes, "Man, I'm tired of these McCains." And this is minutes before he pinned that guy for the 3rd time this week, the same guy. So that coach was tired of seeing this guy. So he was hoping there was no more McCains to the pipeline, but we still got Ireland coming through. So Mr. Wilbur will have to deal with her for the next 3 years. Anyways, again, congratulations on a fantastic month of December, a fantastic January, and we're hoping for a really good February through the state series. And again, this a couple years ago with his brother, so just old hat here with these McCains, okay? Congratulations again. Thank you.
Show those shoes, man. Show those shoes. I had to tell go. Head to toe.
Hey, I never match. This is Zeus.
We might want to, we need to move back, Heather. Yeah, we need to move back just a little bit. Mike, I need you to come back.
Oh. I don't want anybody over. I'll make a feet my back.
You're good.
I'm trying to get my third eye in there. I gotta get Tuck it in. All right,
I asked Miss Moran if she was done yet. She said she was done, so it's my turn. I have the pleasure of introducing our Youth of the Month, David Russ. I introduced him at the Exchange Club a couple Thursdays ago as a Renaissance man. Not only does he excel in the classroom, he's taking AP everything. He is also a leader on the baseball field, pitcher, third base and first base, and I don't think you get any more pressure-filled spots on the field than that, as well as a fantastic singer. If you were at Winter Spectacular, at the end of the night, you heard the Panther Voices, and they were singing like a mashup between Toto's Africa and some Christmas songs. So I'm seeing some head shakings. You guys know what Toto's Africa is, right? That was good stuff. So we are fortunate enough to have his counselor, Panina Noonan, to give a little bit more detail as to why David is so deserving of Youth of the Month.
This is like high tech with this microphone situation. I've had the pleasure of getting to know David Russ over the last 3 years as his school counselor. Actually, it's now 3.5 years. That's insane. He has earned a 4.17 weighted GPA. He is an Illinois State Scholar and has taken a rigorous curriculum of 12 APs and 13 honors classes over his 4 years of high school. I know because I counted. David started getting involved the second he stepped foot in our school, and even with the COVID shutdown, his junior year, he remained involved. Freshman year, he joined our junior varsity baseball team, moving to the ranks of varsity his sophomore year, where he remained. He has a goal of playing baseball in college because of his love for the sport and his family's love for the sport. His junior year, he knew he wanted to take a leadership role in developing the future of Round Lake baseball, so he started coaching Little League with Avon Township Youth Baseball every Saturday for 6 hours so he could support the students on the team and help them to realize their potential. I'm always so impressed by students who volunteer consistently, and David has been volunteering with Avon Township team for 2 years now. David has also been on the Scholastic Bowl team for 4 years of high school. He has been invited to join the Tri-M Music Honor Society his sophomore year and Honor Society his junior year. These programs allowed him to flex his mind and show his academic prowess. He's also been on Scholastic Bowl and volunteered with National Honor Society, and as a member of Tri-M, he took on the leadership role in his junior year and served as vice president of the Honor Society. David is compelled to pursue a career in data science, and I believe David has tremendous potential, and he's already been accepted to 6 colleges, so I'm sure more are coming. It is for all these reasons that we chose to nominate David Russ to represent Round Lake High School as our January Youth of the Month.
Over the past 2 years, I've seen the entire world come to a stop as it tried to cope with the magnitude of the pandemic. In that time, I've been able to do a lot of self-reflection, as is fairly predictable for someone stuck at home with nothing better to do for weeks on end. From that, though, I've come to realize a lot about not just myself, but whole communities and what it takes for an individual to be able to have success. Let me just preface by saying that as much as you disagree, I don't consider myself to have had the most success over the pandemic. However, the individuals that I saw that I think were successful all had one thing in common. They were involved in extracurricular activities in one form or another. And what these activities provide for them is an incentive to show up and give effort every day. For athletes, for the ones behind me, they had to have passing grades or else they wouldn't be allowed to play. For those involved in clubs at school or in the community, provides them with a reason to keep showing up, to be there for one another, and to create meaningful relationships. By being involved in something, people found motivation to persist onwards in spite of an environment that consistently provided little to no incentive to do so. I also saw this through my involvement at Avon Township Youth Baseball, where I've been helping coach kids at the middle school level for the past 2 years. I saw that with my guidance, they realized how far they themselves could go, having not had much perspective on it before. This in turn motivated them to become better, not just as ball players, but as people. My own self-discovery over the pandemic has been to see what things motivated me. I was able to effectively manipulate my schedule this past semester so that I could minimize the days where I was simply going through the motions. I filled my time by doing things on my own that I found an interest in, such as the college search, baseball, volunteer work, and other extracurricular meetings. I've been able to see what I could and couldn't reach, and what motivated me even with my heavy AP course load. It's been through my volunteer work in the community and at Round Lake High School that I've been able to see young leaders emerge, many of whom have followed the same track as myself. These individuals have come from every background and banded together for the betterment of everyone around them, because they've seen for themselves the inequalities that they face. In this community especially, that's important, that we need to equip these emerging leaders with the necessary skills so that they can make a difference. Is there a lot of work to do? Of course there is. But with this group of motivated young leaders, the next generation of leaders will continue to improve, emboldened by the lessons shared by us now. Over time, with each generation of leaders building off the last, this community will thrive like it never has before.
All right, next up, because of our change, we've got public comment. And as always, members of the public may participate in public comment during regular board meetings by attending in person or by submitting an electronic public comment form. Please note that speakers are limited to 3 minutes. A link to the electronic public comment form can be found in the packet. Electronic public comments are accepted up till the time that the board reaches public comment, which is now. Do we have any electronic public comment? Hearing none, do we have any local public comment? Please step forward and state your name and comment.
All right. Good evening, everybody. That was wonderful, by the way. So my name is Mikkel Storsley. I'm the superintendent of Grays Lake High School District 127, just up the road, and that's what we're here for. I don't care. Your students, our students, that was wonderful. Thank you so much. Today, I'm here to talk about an adult in the room, and that's Dr. Mendoza. So I'm actually here in my a different capacity. Right now, I'm the president of the Lake County Superintendents Association, and I'm going to read a letter. Dear Round Lake Area School District 116 Board of Education, it is my distinct honor to inform you that Dr. Don Mendoza was selected as the Lake County Superintendent of Distinction for 21-22. With over 45 districts serving Lake County, Dr. Mendoza has shown true leadership over the years by not only leading an exemplary district that focuses on student growth and achievement, but also as a leader among superintendents. Dr. Mendoza was selected for this honor by his peers, who fully know the quality of his work and of his character. He has become a true leader among his peers, as well as serving in various leadership roles at the county and state levels. Dr. Mendoza is a highly respected leader in all areas. As the Board of Education, you should be extremely proud of how Dr. Mendoza has represented your school community. A specific quote from one of our Lake County superintendents regarding the quality of Don's leadership is as follows. Don exemplifies leadership as a superintendent. At the beginning of 2021, Don saw the need to have all our Lake County educators vaccinated as soon as possible. Don worked with the Lake County Health Department to create one of 2 vaccine clinics to expedite the administering of vaccines. This was a monumental task, as you all know. But Don did it to ensure all staff members in Lake County could receive a vaccine as soon as possible. Don is a role model for servant leadership and is more than deserving of being the LCS Superintendent of the Year. Dr. Mendoza will now represent the Lake County, Dr. Mendoza will now represent Lake County for the Illinois Superintendent of the Year, which will be announced at the joint annual conference, the III Conference, in November 2022. Thank you for your support of Dr. Mendoza and his leadership of Round Lake School District 116 and throughout Lake County.
So, am I supposed to say a couple things? Mikkel, I mean, I'm really, I'm just going to try to keep it brief, but just first, thank you for coming. I don't really see myself like this. It's not really why it's I think my 28th year. I mean, the 2 reasons why I do what I do is service and because I love people. And it's a little bit humorous, but this vaccination clinic was a huge deal, and the team, I feel like this is a team award. I don't think we would be doing the things we have been without the team and frankly the school board that we have. I don't think I've ever worked with a better Board of Education. I feel like collectively it's just been an amazing relationship, and I'm so honored to work alongside such a very talented team over here. And I see, Mike Berry out there and other administrators, and just humbled to be in this community. I feel like this is a gem. It's really an honor and a privilege to serve in this community, and I don't feel like I deserve the award, but I'm definitely grateful. So thank you.
And one of the reasons you're getting the award is because you don't feel like you deserve the award. One thing, the Superintendent of the Year, now that is something that Dr. Mendoza will have to apply, and as some of the paperwork came to me, he would be encouraged to apply. So maybe you know some people who could encourage him to apply for that award. Maybe 7 people up here. Okay, yeah. You know some people? Okay, that's good. Congratulations, Don.
All right, next up are communications to the board. And first up on that is presentation of the fiscal 2021 financial audit.
Okay, so certainly exciting to share the next piece of exciting news about the good work we've done in the financial area, certainly under the leadership not only of Dr. Mendoza but also the board. This evening, as required by Illinois School Code, we are required to have an audit. Board members were given a hard copy of that document at our last meeting. Bobby Calise has been so generous and kind to also upload it for those of you that didn't have your binder with you. this evening. The district has partnered with Ela Classroom auditing firm for several years. A couple of things that I'd like to share about the firm. Yes, we have to go through the audit. Yes, they are here on site, but they are truly a partner and extension to us anytime we need them. With a lot of the grant funds we receive, with a lot of the unique accounting requirements that we have, we know we can pick up the phone at any time and call them. It's not just through audit season, which certainly in my role makes a big difference and is certainly a huge support. Although you have the binder and or the electronic copy, it truly is a reflection of the team that I work with, and I would be remiss if I did not recognize their hard work through this process. Tina Kostova, our district accountant, Jody Rogers and Carolyn Johnson, both who work in the accounts payable department, Reggie Staker, who works in procurement, and Rochelle Pfeiffer, who is our assistant as well, working in collections and other aspects of the business office. A couple of highlights before I introduce our team from Ela Classroom. I'd just like to note and certainly celebrate that in the past our board has been recognized for financial recognition at a score of 3.60. We will continue that recognition, but our score has raised to 3.70. So even through everything going on, we have continued to remain financially healthy. We've had an increase in our overall net position, but also we've had a decrease in our long-term debt, which is certainly important to our taxpayers and to our community. So without any further ado, I'd like to welcome Sheridan Jurgensen, who is the partner of Ela Classroom, and the staff accountant, senior accountant who is here with us, Mary Lolino, who had the opportunity to review our work.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Sheridan Jurgensen. I'm one of the partners at Ela Classroom Company. I just want to spend a few minutes of your time and go over the results of the audit. Before I do that, though, I do want to say thank you to Pam and Tina and the rest of the staff. There is a lot of information that they need to provide for the audit, a lot of questions that we ask, and so they've always been so very generous and of their time, just providing everything that we need in a timely basis so that we can get the report to you. So just thank you to them. A couple things that I want to point out in the audit report. The first thing is our audit opinion, which is really the most important part of the audit report. It's on page 1 or page 23 of the PDF. And it's an unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion you can have under accounting standards. And really what it's saying that all the testing we did, everything that we looked at, that as a result, we were able to say the financial statements were free from material misstatement. And it also talks in there about internal controls. And it says we don't give an opinion on internal controls, but we spent a lot of time looking at them. If there was to be fraud or errors or anything to occur, it's going to be your internal control processes that are going to catch that. So it's very important that those are in place, not only written documentation, but more importantly, that people are following them. So we sit down with the people that are processing the transactions to make sure those are being followed. We had no issues, no findings or deficiencies that we found as a result of that testing. The next thing in the audit report, which is on page 4, page 27 of the PDF, is management discussion and analysis. I always recommend to board members, if you don't read anything else in the audit report, that you read this section of the audit. It's a more easy to read narrative of what happened during the year. I know the audit report can be a little daunting, not the most exciting document to read, but this gives you a good narrative and some explanations on the changes during the year. Then after that, there are actually 2 sets of financial statements in the audit report. The first one is the government-wide, which starts on page 11 or 35 of the PDF. It's a more long-term outlook statement, so I typically don't really address anything in there. But the next one is your fund financial statements, which start on page 13. And I wanted to just highlight further down on page 16 what shows the revenues and expenses for the funds. At the bottom, you'll see that there was let me find it. There was a net change of the year. There was an increase of $3.6 million. And then 2 lines down, you'll see there was a net position adjustment of $91,000. That was a result of a new standard that required us to bring all the student activity funds into the education fund. So that's why that's there. Then the rest of the audit report is footnotes. It gives you just a lot more detail. There's budget to actual statements, and then there's the statistical section, which has 10 years worth of information. Really no changes in there from the prior years, so that's all there and available for you. Then the last thing that we do as part of the audit is your testing of your federal grants. This year focused mostly on your COVID-related grants. There was no issues, no findings as a result of that. And then finally, as Pam pointed out, we do provide and complete the AFR, that it gets submitted to ISBE. Your financial profile did increase, which is great. The only really metric that is a little lower is your debt margin ratio. So as your debt goes down, as your EAV increases, that will go down or go up. So overall, the audit went really well. The records were in wonderful condition. We had less than, I think, 10 journal entries, which is unheard of, and even the clients I work with. So just great job. So I'll answer any questions if you have any.
No questions, but questions. But I know we talk on the phone because we meet. Finance committee meets with the auditors and with the business office to review the audit and answer any questions and any follow-up questions from their audit. So as always, they do a great job.
I'd like to just thank Dr. Kibbins for her hard work regarding the audit and the financial work she's doing in the district. A lot of the comments she made were goals she had for our financial program when she came in, and it's great to see how much she's achieving them.
I think this is a little bit funny, but I actually know what a journal entry is as the superintendent. And I can't believe we just had 10. That's incredible. Also want to compliment Pam and the team for what really is a very, very good audit. So just, we're entrusted with significant taxpayer resources, and it's really nice to know that we're stewarding those properly. So thank you, Pam.
Any additional questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
All right, next up is our organic life presentation with our great fresh fruit in front of us as well. So.
So as we continue celebrating our partners in the district, another great partner to us is Organic Life, our food service. Per the request of the Board of Education, there are to be 3 presentations giving updates of where we're at. This is number 2 of 3. Again, I'd be remiss if I did not celebrate and recognize the team that I have an opportunity to work with through Organic Life. This evening we have Jose Gutierrez, who is the Vice President of Organic Life, Melissa Bungie, who is our on-site food service director, who's also a member of Organic Life. She is ill this evening and not able to join us, but I'm sure here in spirit. Working with this team, and again, working with food service has been really a great extension of the Round Lake family. They care about our children. They care about our teachers. They've shown that through catering. They've shown that through distribution of meals in the summer. I can't say enough about how much, whenever I call, it's whatever you need, whatever we can do, and we figure out the how piece later, but they're there for us. So without any further ado, I'd like to welcome Jose.
Thank you, Pam. This is the remote, right? Yeah. No, I got it. Thank you. Okay, just to add on, thank you, Pam, for that introduction, and thank you, everyone, for having us. Just to kind of follow up a little on what she said. The reason we want to keep everyone happy is just it's a reflection of your team as well. Because, everyone from Dr. Mendoza, Dr. Kibbins, Mary Lamping, everyone, the board, just the principals, everyone's so supportive of what we do, and you helped us along the way. So we feel just as part of the community and part of the school that, these are our kids too. Even though, some of us are 100 miles away from here. So to begin, we're gonna go over, I'm gonna recap, a little mid-year recap. In the previous meeting, we talked about our phases, our transition into the normal or new normal. We began our phase 1, which is our return to school in August, a bit of September, where we were just doing grab and go meals, kind of just trying to get kids through the lines, get them in quick, get them their meal without, going through all these COVID precautions as well with going through them. So we went into phase 2 somewhere around like mid-September, late September, and that's when we transitioned from the grab and go lunches to serving trays, so that kids can now, it would just look better as opposed to a bag or a brown bag. They were able to come through the lines to serving trays. There were increased meal choices. We added more lines at the high school level, at the middle school level, more serving lines, as well as chocolate milk. Currently, we're still in phase 2, about to transition into phase 3. The target month for that phase 3 was February. So phase 3, what phase 3 means is once we get a, the POS going with, and kids can come and pay ID, we can open a la carte services, we can add more pizza varieties, we can add more lines, and make sure that the kids are able to get more choices as far as a la carte as well, which is, I know, something they enjoy. Next slide is just participation of SSO breakfast and SSO lunch. Now these, if you can see the numbers, August, September, October, November, December, you'll see a rise through November, and then December you'll see a drop. Now these are just total number of meals. They're not based on participation. So if you see these numbers as far as like how many serving days they were, we saw a rise in every single month on the average meals per day. So from August to November, we saw a significant rise in average meals per day. For reference, you'll see that there was 35,000 on October total and 34,000 in November. However, there were 20 serving days in October and 17 in November. So we did see an increase. The reason you'll see a decrease in December is for various reasons. There were less serving days. One, and the last week of December, most of the high school was out due to testing. High school is a huge part of our numbers. It's about 1,500 meals a day. But we estimate if the high school would have been pressing, the numbers would have kept increasing. So in short, we see that this transition, this phase we've set forward has increased. The added options have increased meal participation throughout the year. Total meals so far, 461,605 from August to December. Participation of EEC snacks as well. We've seen the same increase in average per day. Okay, so what's next? Like I mentioned before, phase 3, we want to open up a la carte for the students. We want to be able to add the additional daily menu option where we're having 2 hot items and 2 cold items as opposed to just 1 hot item. The reason we're doing 1 hot item is to avoid cross contact with COVID and having kids change their mind at the point of sale and switching meals and all that. And more importantly, we want to promote the focus group for the high school level, middle school level, and elementary school level. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. So the focus group is kind of intertwined with something we're calling the pizza challenge. Focus group, we're trying to limit. It's going to be at the high school level with the Student Council of the Panther Action Congress, as well as the middle school and elementary school levels. We want to do it with a short student body at first, with a smaller amount of students. And in that focus group, we are implementing the pizza challenge. The focus group will be, first of all, it'll be kind of a behind-the-scenes look inside the production kitchen, just so that students can get an idea of how their meals are prepared. A lot of us have a false perception of school food, because most of the time it's been true, but Organic Life prides itself in the restaurant background, and we do a lot of scratch cooking, so we would love for our students and our parents to be able to see that. That way they get an idea of what's going into their food, who's cooking it, everything that's going on it. So they'll be able to meet and greet with our chefs and food service staff, get a quick lesson on food safety that we go through, and the scratch cooking that we do, and how they can utilize foods that are in our cafeteria, foods that are in their home as well, how they can utilize those things, to make healthier meals. I do want to point out that this would be, this is open for students, and we also want to involve parents. And hopefully from that focus group and those activities, parents can come back in our main meeting, our students, and they can tell us about their experiences and what they went through. Now the fun part about the focus group, we know it's kind of hard to get students to sign up for just a survey or question, so we want to, give them an incentive. We're going to do the pizza challenge here. So we will start with the survey and the questions. After that, we'll do the pizza challenge. It's kind of a cooking competition that we will do at the high school level at first. So we're going to bring in our chefs from our restaurants and from our corporate commissaries, including one of our chefs whose sole specialty is pizza, that he actually changed his name to Professor Pizza. It's true. He's a little strange guy, but he lives and breathes pizza. So we figured it's the most popular day of the menu, and we'll bring our pizza guy who does our pizzas downtown at our restaurants, and we'll do a little competition with them. Basically, students will be building their own pizza with various cheeses after they get a lesson, different crusts, different toppings. They can use their imagination. We'll have our judges, we'll have our chefs, including, we're opening an invitation to the board as well, if you guys want to be part of that judging, try out the pizzas, and, based on execution, appearance, and taste, we'll choose a winner, and that winner will be featured on the menu for the next month. We're shooting to do this on February 9th, which is actually National Pizza Day, which would be a nice touch, and that's the projected date for that. That's the flyer for the pizza challenge. I'm not sure if you can read it. If not, I have copies of it here. We're signing up, like I said, the students from the Student Council, the Panther Action Congress, and the middle school and elementary school levels are TBD. And we're also looking to do a similar event for parents that are interested as well. As always, we always welcome feedback from students and from parents and obviously your administration. So thank you for your partnership. Like I said at the beginning of the meeting, all of this would not be possible without all of your help and all your support, which is very, very noted, all the way from our corporate office to our serving staff. They're very grateful to work here. Thank you. Questions?
Any questions from the board?
Sorry, forgot to mention, we did leave fruit at the beginning of just a little show you what kind of fruit we're serving to the students, and it's not just always apples and oranges. Yeah, hope you enjoyed it. It is a bigger portion the students get though. Through the guidelines, they're supposed to get a cup, but we added a little more for you guys. Thank you.
We appreciate that.
Thank you very much, as always. We really appreciate the partnership, so thank you. All right, next up we have our Ela and Math Presentation. Insert joke here for I was promised no maths.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Fontana, and I'm the Teaching and Learning Coordinator for ELA and Literacy. Thank you for having us present tonight.
I'm Chris Horeska. I'm the Math and Business Tech Coordinator. It's been a few years since we've been able to stand up here with the pandemic, so we're up here to kind of tell the story and the journey the last 3 to 4 years, the way that we've developed, and we're really proud of the math in LA that we're offering students.
Right. 4 years ago, Dr. Center asked the teaching and learning departments to really think about their vision for their departments and have that be the driving force for the work that they do moving forward from here on out. So ELA, our team, and with teachers really thought about that vision and Ours really centers on developing effective communicators that gives them the power to influence their world. We really want our students to be able to take the power of words and use that to influence them now and in the future. And we're able to accomplish that really with a focus on writing. So although reading is extremely powerful, we do it in English every single day, we believe in the power of writing to read. And so a lot of our curriculum is centered around a writing plan that we focus there, so that way we could develop our literacy skills through that written language first.
For the math vision, we're really looking at creating critical thinkers, so students that can solve problems. And the only way to kind of do that is really start promote student agency, really have student voice within the curriculum to be able to discover the math, play with the math, and ultimately, again, enjoy what I think that last part is, the wonder, joy, and beauty of mathematics, which is really tough for students to be able to do if they were not able to productively struggle through very open areas. So we're really trying to have students discover math and empower to get through math. So.
All right, we're going to start our journey with secondary, and we really feel it's important to start here because the high school in particular really kind of set the tone and paved the way for unifying our philosophy and visions within our district. So we want to start here and give you a little bit of a brief history so you could see where we started with secondary and how it translates into the elementary as well. So we have many different philosophies and visions that we believe in systems, but there are three real key ones that really permeate through our entire district, and that's mastery learning, standards-based grading, and competency-based education. Mr. Ruska and I could probably talk for hours on all three of these, but just briefly, mastery learning is really about taking a teacher-centered model and turning it into a student-centered model, empowering our students to demonstrate mastery of skills and proficiencies at their own pace, and teachers really using data within the classroom to tailor their instruction to meet students' needs. Standards-based grading is about really providing a reporting system to accurate information both for students and for families, measuring specific skills and standards throughout. When we were in school, we got that 89% on a paper, and we're like, why didn't I get that 90%, that A-? But we didn't know why. Well, standards-based grading really provides targeted feedback both for families and for students. And then lastly, competency-based education, which is quite a large concept, but really what we're looking at here is about allowing students to advance when they demonstrate mastery in certain competencies and skills at their own pace, and provide them multiple ways to demonstrate that proficiency throughout.
So again, those are some larger systems and beliefs around those systems. So like, how do we ultimately get there from that why? And so we'd be remiss not to say that we have talented coordinators, curriculum instruction specialists, department chairs, CACs, but more importantly, having some teacher agency with the vertical alignment team. So like, how do we get there with a belief system in such a large organization, right? Rather than maybe like two people standing up here. And ultimately the vertical alignment work that the board has invested a lot of money in, teaching and learning has invested a lot of money into teachers developing curriculum. So you're gonna kind of hear that story, I think, the narrative, when we get into like elementary and middle school and high school math and ELA, is ultimately it's not a coordinator at the top of this idea of developing through vertical alignment work. So that's pretty prevalent through all of K-12 education here.
All right, so I'll start with some English highlights at the secondary level. So because we started, 8, 9, 10 years ago at the high school with developing the curriculum, we've really had an opportunity in the last 4 years to revise that curriculum at the 6-12 level. And that is largely because of the student improvement and growth that is happening at elementary and at middle school. It forces us to evolve and change our curriculum with time. It's not static. We want it to evolve. So we've really been able to do that and revise our curriculum at the secondary level, offering more engagement, increased student choice through our work. We have a couple changes to structures of our courses that we're excited about for this year and next year. I'll just highlight two of them. We're excited. I came to the board about a month ago to request creative writing coming back, so I'm excited to see that back on the docket for our students. And also English 2 next year is an example where we're having a pathway for students to be able to choose their second semester English 2 course. So they get to choose between murder and mayhem or power and privilege. So they really kind of direct their path and gain that interest. So not just within a text in their classroom, but the actual course itself. So those are just some of the changes that we're looking forward to that really align to the engagement and student choice that we've been pushing within the English curriculum at the secondary level. These are just a few pictures within our secondary classroom. I mentioned that writing really is our driving force, and collaboration is key to that, both in person and with technology. Technology really has allowed us to collaborate peer-to-peer, student to teacher throughout that. But also within groups. If you walk into an English classroom, we should see students talking to each other, forming groups, and working together. In that upper right-hand corner, that's actually an AP Senior English student working with our English 2 classes. So we actually melded the 2 classes together for a day, and they worked on revising their papers throughout. So it was a great example of collaboration among our students in different courses.
Jump my slide.
Did I go too far?
No, sorry.
No, nope. I don't know where it's at.
Maybe the next one. Just go to the next one.
Oh, okay.
The secondary math highlights, it started with being a little bit more consistent. So about 5-6 years ago, we made the intentional commitment to move away from Pearson digits and into Carnegie at the middle school level. One of the main intentions of that is to kind of control that methodology of teaching and that discovery curriculum that we heard about from the high school in the math department. So one of the biggest transitions, and I think there's a pretty impressive slide in a couple of slides here, the biggest transition for the math department was to have that consistency of 6-12. So we kind of started from there. Then we backed up another step and really looked at a student over the course of K-12. We really want to empower that we were a unit district, and really having control over developing the math education in this district was something that we took advantage of. And then the last one is just the addition of some courses. So again, we have some foundations in prep, and those have been pretty common at the high school level. We moved some of those prep courses down to the middle school level just to continue to reinforce math education support that students need. So we've kind of widened our scope to really try to offer courses that increase math readiness. And then here's the image. Here's just a couple images, one from a high school math lab and the other one from a middle school. I think this is Mrs. Condon's class, and Dance Dance Revolution is a big thing, or was a big thing with students. So she, I think, got out the painter's tape and they did Dance Dance Transversal. This is, it lends, maybe not directly in Carnegie, but it lends to what Carnegie is trying to do, have students discover inquiry-based mathematics. So you're going to start to see a lot more classes with that, that type of visual there. And then this slide probably gives me chills out of all of them. This is a slide that, especially in the math department, if I look to the left of it, which we don't have, consistently right around the 25 to 30% readiness level. So we sent about 152 students, we sent 152 students last year to CLC, and this talks about what their readiness level is. So if you're not college career ready, then you're in jeopardy of taking you will take remedial courses. So this is a testament to the actual product coming out of it. So when we really talk about building K-12, we're really talking about K-14. So Dr. Mendoza, along with Dr. Center, really working closely with CLC to make sure we're aligned with college career readiness. So again, ELA's always been up there, and they're up at 91%. I think there's a 1 to 4% undetermined. So they're right up there. And then math, you see that drastic increase. The math, again, 2 reasons for it. One is that consistency. We're finally seeing that from 5 years ago, that consistency of 6-12. The other one was that close partnership with CLC, where we offer quantitative literacy as a senior level course. If they pass that quantitative literacy course, which we have about 111 students in it, they get a portability code if they pass that course. If you get that portability code in the state of Illinois, they cannot put you in a remedial math course, so that would be another thing. This is just a transition slide. Fontana noted it before. ultimately we're just trying to keep the momentum going. So mastery learning, a lot of those beliefs came from the high school level. I was at the middle school level about 6-7 years ago, and we started to implement it at the middle school level. So just continuing that belief system down at the elementary level is where we're headed.
All right, so with elementary, you've seen a lot in the strategic plan monitoring documents over the last couple of years with a focus on teaching and learning, on developing the curriculum. So we're gonna kind of walk through a little bit that's gone on in the last few years at elementary. So year one was technically 2018, 2019. That was when Dr. Mendoza became superintendent and we kind of shifted in these roles, but really the work started in spring of 2018 and that summer. Dr. Mendoza really wanted to hit the ground running with the work in developing the curriculum so that way we could get elementary in alignment with our secondary classes. So in year one, we focused a lot on mastery learning. We implemented that, we trained staff and we trained building administrators, and we rolled out a modified curriculum. We weren't ready to launch a brand new curriculum, but we did roll out some math standards and an ELA writing plan in that year one. And then behind the scenes, that vertical alignment team spent all year building that curriculum to launch in 2019-2020, which was our year two. So that was our first year of rolling out a new ELA and math curriculum at the elementary level. Unfortunately, the pandemic hit in the spring, so it was cut a little bit short. But we still had a lot of movement that year. We launched standards-based grading with that new curriculum, and we launched a phonics curriculum at kindergarten, which you'll see a video about. And then we restructured our district intervention model. We went from a building-to-building intervention model to a district one, and we hired math interventionists at the elementary level, which we did not have previously. And that takes us to this year and last year, obviously, which has been living largely in the pandemic. So although we've been living in this world, we still have been able to make enhancements to the curriculum. And so we hired additional math and reading interventionists throughout. We've had a focus on play-based learning and observational assessments, particularly in the area of math. We continued our phonics rollout and guided reading training. And then also, most importantly, we still conducted that vertical alignment annual review to improve our curriculum. Even though we've been living in the pandemic, we still wanted to make those tweaks and changes as we moved forward. Specifically in ELA, it's important to kind of understand where elementary ELA was prior to where we are now. So before we had Pearson, which was a scripted curriculum that had an abundance of Common Core standards and 30 different types of writing every single year. It was only aligned to K-5, there was not any phonics instruction, there was no system for running records. Now with the teacher generated and created curriculum, we have priority standards and focus. We have 3 to 4 types of writing per year. We are truly aligned K-12. We have phonics in all of our primary levels, increase in our running records, and now all of our staff K-5 are fully trained in guided reading. So this is just a couple snapshots again of the power of words within writing in the elementary curriculum. We didn't see a lot of it before, now we're seeing writing going on in all of our classrooms. And this video coming up here is Miss Ortega from Village. She is giving a Reading Horizons lesson. This really shows the power of movement within our phonics curriculum, so this is an excellent little snapshot.
We started to learn that yesterday. Anyone want to add on to what she said? Nico.
K takes the I and E and C takes the other 3.
Oh, kiss your brain. Good memory. Let's practice that. Let's review it. We like to use our bodies. Push in your chairs and stand up. If you were not here yesterday, no big deal. We will help you because we're still practicing it too. Am I ever going to get mad if you forget something or you get it wrong? Never. All right, here we go. You're like this, a little stick. All right, so our saying is K takes I and E and C takes the other 3. Are you ready for this? Love that you're joining us, Daniel. Here we go. In case you forgot, I will show you one time. Here we go. K takes I and E and C takes the other 3. You ready to do that? Okay, say it with a strong voice, right? Because you're confident that you're learning this. Here we go. Little thing. All right. K takes I and E, and C takes the other 3. Take a deep breath. Let it out. Go ahead and sit down.
Thank you. I think that's a great video to really shows the engagement within the classroom, and also that is like a prime example of SEL and good confidence building working within within that classroom. All right, we've mentioned a couple times running records. I know Dr. Mendoza brought up running records a month or so ago, talking about different types of assessments that occur. Running records are a one-on-one reading assessment that we give to gather data on student fluency and comprehension. And what it does is it provides us an overall reading level on the student, and then we use that reading level to provide targeted instruction within the classroom. Also, this assessment is really our biggest tool to evaluate with what we're doing is working. Do we see student growth with their reading level? So those 3 shots of those books just gives you an idea of what I mean when I give a level. When I say level A, that's about what a student would be reading at a level A. So this is just more for your knowledge there. These next 2 slides are some data on our running record over the last few years. Obviously, we've had some gaps in administering the assessment with the pandemic, but if you look at that kindergarten, the last 3 years of winter data, we've really improved that winter data just recently in December. That 39% of our students were considered pre-readers, where previously we were in the mid-50s earlier in the last 2 years. So even with the pandemic, our students coming into the building, we're really seeing that growth, and I believe our phonics program is largely responsible for that. The first and second grade data here is growth data from this year, so from fall to winter of what we're seeing. If you look at that particularly second grade data, 51% of our second graders are reading at or above the second grade level. That is great and highest we've seen in a very long time. And if we look at the second grade data particularly, this is all of their cohort data. So if you see where they started at winter of kindergarten, 56% were pre-readers, and now 3% are considered pre-readers. So we really have grown tremendously, and this second grade group I wanted to highlight because they are the first group to have our phonics instruction and program all 3 years. We're really excited about the growth that they've continued to show.
Now on the elementary math side, I think this picture speaks a million words. In the intentional shift that we wanted to really build up concrete understanding in mathematics. So what you're going to see here is a lot of pictures of guided play. It's with blocks, with manipulatives that we've invested in for kids to get their hands on math. And ultimately, we knew that was important, especially at the primary grade level, to change that mindset, what many people call like a growth mindset, especially in math education for these young girls and boys. So a lot of pictures of manipulatives. So again, very similar. We had a Pearson curriculum. And again, that was okay, but what was the product and the outcome? We did not see the use of math manipulatives. We did not see the use of hands-on, play-based type of education. So we started transitioning away from more of that scripted curriculum. One of the things we talked about very early on, about 3.5, 4 years ago now, is that kind of teacher-created curriculum. That's that vertical alignment work that very early on in this process we brought together to unpack the Common Core standards and start to have some of these more high-engaging activities to build on concrete understanding. The last bullet point there really talked about is extending our reach on math apps. So I'm not going to get into depth of any of these apps other than it was so important for math education to expand past the brick and mortar. Really allow kids to be able to practice math at any time, at home, over the summertime. I love reading, but you often saw kids reading books at night and not talking about math. And so it was so important for us to extend math practice. So ultimately, this slide really shows Dreambox, which is a really big play-based activity one, probably the most popular one out there. We use that in our primary grade levels, where they, again, kind of game-based. Freckle we've had in the district for quite a while. We use that in our intermediate grades. And then Seesaw we used in the pandemic, but we saw great gains of teachers putting activities that allowed students to show evidence and have student portfolios of multidimensional learning. So teachers really seem to gravitate towards that. Our last app is Reflex, and that's actually a very simple app that was created. It was just on fluency. So the slide on the left is the additive thinking fluency. This is where a student learns how to add and subtract. I was actually just talking to my daughter a few days ago who's in 2nd grade, and I knew she wasn't fluent at subtraction because she had a problem of 11 minus 9. And that's a great problem to see if you're fluent at math. And 11 minus 9, we all know, is 2. You actually didn't subtract to get to that point. You actually used additive thinking. You actually added from 9 to 11. And so you start to see these nuances to fluency. Well, reflex allows us to check for that fluency. So on this grid, even though I probably have too much data here, you really look at 0 to 49 percentile. You want to get out of any percentage in there. You want to develop fluency. So as you can see, as a benchmark in 2nd grade, we had 75% of the students that were not fluent. 0 to 49, that's a high percentage. We went down to 56%. We're looking to control that to another 20 to 30% in the spring. And then we launched summer opportunities where we again have really good engagement over the summertime of kids being able to engage on this app. The one on the right is the multiplication division. Again, 72% for a 3rd grader. Mid-year, it was to 48%. So again, we want to get that down inside 25% and then continue to develop that on 4th grade. So a lot with math fluency targets. It's a great avenue of kids being able to recall and have that confidence to be critical thinkers and problem solvers. So we've gone a lot there. Lastly, our last set of slides here, which we probably talk about any of these for a very long time, but we're pretty proud on other things such as intervention, Twilight Tutoring, cross-curricular literacy, and libraries and LLC. So we're going to discuss those briefly.
The intervention our programming has kind of done an overhaul in the last 4 years. We had no math interventionists at elementary 4 years ago. Now we could proudly say that we have 2 math and 2 reading interventionists at all of our buildings, K through 12, which is really exciting. We also have an additional math and reading MTS interventionists that focus on supporting our staff and both our building administrator and our teachers on how to provide intervention within a Tier 1 classroom. But over the years, in addition to adding those additional interventionists throughout and resources, we've shifted, as I mentioned before, from that building to building to the district model. Mr. Hruska and I are able to provide consistency across the district so that it's no more what happens in this building is different in another building. So having that consistency and additional resources has allowed us to target support, particularly at the K2, 6, 7, and 9, 10 grade levels. Although we do provide intervention to the other grade levels, by having that targeted support, research shows the earlier we could catch our students, the faster we'll close those gaps. So that's why that's our primary focus there, because with that, we are now able to increase intervention support to 3 to 5 days a week. In the old model, an interventionist might have 150 students that they saw 1 time a week. You're not going to make the same growth if you have that large of a grade band of students to work with that infrequently. So we're excited about the changes there.
The pandemic brought on a lot of challenges, but one of the great things that came programmatically that came out of the pandemic was us trying Twilight Tutoring. So we tried Twilight Tutoring last year, remote, a kid hopping on a Zoom, being connected with an app called Calendly to be able to schedule that, and then have one-on-one access to a teacher, a certified teacher in Round Lake area schools on that subject. Not sure 5 years ago I could have visualized that, but the pandemic said a student is comfortable hopping on their iPad or a device, and a teacher is comfortable sitting at their house working on it. So we've offered Twilight Tutoring Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 5:30 to 7:30 with great success. 26 tutors, which continue to be retained in those evenings, and we've had over 1,000 sessions in the first semester. So that's 1,000 students that are sitting for 20 minutes or 30 minutes one-on-one with a certified teacher. So it's been a great success since we began it last year.
All right. The last 2 slides that I am going to discuss here has to do with extending literacy beyond the Ela Classroom. And we've had a big focus on cross-curricular literacy. That particularly started at the secondary level. Before I was an admin, I was a teacher at the high school, and I was an instructional writing coach. And part of that process was about embedding literacy strategies within all content areas. And this isn't about just reading and writing and science and social studies and math, but it's about arming our teachers with strategies to implement within the classroom to help our students with that reading and writing. So this might be common annotations that we use across the district, graphic organizers behaviors that are similar. And this really stems from our reading interventionists at secondary working with our staff. So they have trained our staff in these strategies and are available for coaching. So a science teacher might have an article that is a little bit too high for our students, but it's worthwhile. So our interventionists will work with the teacher or come in the classroom and help the students scaffold that article. So those cross-curricular literacy implementation and focus has really paid off, as we've seen with particularly our secondary data. And as we develop our curriculum at elementary, we're going to see those cross-curricular literacy opportunities expand. And then we're sitting here in the library in our LLCs. It's more than just books, right? So we are really excited about the work. We've really taken advantage of the pandemic and students not in the building. You've seen Dr. Rowling's disposal list has had a lot of our old, outdated books. I think some from when Dr. Center was here. She's like, I remember that book, right? Well, we had an opportunity to really dig through every single book, get rid of the outdated ones, the ones that were damaged, and we've had an opportunity to have gotten over 11,000 new books for all of our libraries across the district that really has focused on culturally relevant, engaging young adult readers, and also expanding our foreign languages, world languages, I should say, across the library. So all of our libraries contain books that our students are familiar with and are excited about. But our libraries do so much more than the books, right? We have research databases. We work with teachers and provide professional development there. Our elementary LMAs, they teach elementary library specials. They work with our student technology and iPads and support there. So with all of that work, we're really focused on creating an engaging space both for our students and our staff.
So again, like what now? Ultimately, you have to stick with the plan, right? Like mastery learning isn't overnight. So you have to change the belief system with teachers. You have to change the belief system with students. And that takes time. So, a lot of the same, like expanding some of our guided play in our hands-on, expanding what we're doing with mastery learning, which is pretty new at the elementary level. So just continuing that belief system, and as a unit district, having those benefits in the long run. So I think, what's next or what now is continuing through that kind of belief system. Then lastly, we obviously have our question slide. Before that, we just want to thank the board. I mean, it's a presentation I think we've wanted to give the last 3 or 4 years, and we're just really grateful for the opportunity to present in front of you guys.
I just want to make a statement and then just turn it over to you. I think probably in my 4 years, I don't know how many board meetings I've been in the last 9 years, but I just know in my career there's probably been about 5 times where you see something and it just kind of reinforces why you're doing what you're doing. One of the ones, and I'm never going to forget it, it's when Susan, do you remember, we moved the graduation rate with all that effort. So I just want to say this is really a reflection of several things. Number one, and this isn't in priority order necessarily, so I just don't want to upset anybody. But the board, you guys have made such an investment in our programming, so I just want to thank you for that. We couldn't have done this without that. The second thing is just the talent we have in the classroom, our teachers, and with these 2 individuals, Chris and Sarah, what we've decided to do is hard, and it's not instant gratification. In order to do this, in order to engage in this process, it's exactly what they said at the end. We have to, I think Chris, you just said it. We have to figure out what best practice is, and we've got to stay the course. This is a culmination of years of work. We won't be providing necessarily a detailed strategic planning update when that comes, because I think they just did. And I just really want to call out your leadership in these areas. And this is another example of what a talented team we have. And our teachers have been committed. It's been hard. And I would be remiss if I didn't embarrass Dr. Center a little bit. This is her vision. And she is steadfast with what best practice is. I don't think I've met anyone smarter than she is. And I'll stack our team up against anybody's anywhere. So I just want to thank Susan and her willingness to, starting at the high school level, we've actually done it almost backward. starting at the high school, and normally it goes the other way. And so it can be bumpy at times. So I just want to thank you for your commitment to our kids and your advocacy and just an unbelievably positive presentation. I mean, we've had a lot of darkness the last year and a half, and this is like some really positive light to shine on the community and our teachers. So that's all I'm going to say. So thank you, and Dr. Center, thank you for your leadership.
I have some questions, or a question. I appreciate you talking about the Twilight Tutoring and, the 1,000 sessions. I remember when you brought that contract forward, I had lots of questions. I was wondering how that would work, so I'm glad to hear the successes. But in your what now slide, you said expand tutoring. How, could you elaborate on that? Because at least for me, when I went here to think of tutoring online, it's like, we didn't have computers then, but it's a whole different story. I'm thinking, how do you expand that?
No, it's a great question. So right now we hit the core subject, the 4 core subjects, and we do one-on-one tutoring. So the expansion of that would be more tailored type of sessions, right? So like if an interventionist had a small group on a skill, that interventionist could have a group of students with that skill. So you could expand on it, given like a set of learning targets. That would be one idea of expansion.
Okay, yeah, that's great, because I was, as I was looking at what we offer it on, I don't know, maybe this where it goes, but we think of like fine arts, and they have things as well. Will it be expanded even to that as well?
Can I jump in real quick? One of the things we tried to start this year, and it's been a little bit slower going, and I think it's just has something to do with coming back from the pandemic and kind of like just resetting everything, is during the day tutoring in a similar fashion, right? So using Calendly. So if Mr. Jewett is a band teacher or whatever, he can set up and say 6th period I'd like to tutor and support students, and then they can use Calendly to sign up for that, to get extra support at that time. That's been really slow in taking off, not because people aren't willing, but I just think it's been a little bit, this going back to school and getting adjusted and everything has kind of been a little bit of a mess in some ways. And so kids are kind of just like really focused on like, I'm just doing this thing, and teachers are really focused. So we've had teachers volunteer and are willing to do it. We haven't had as much, it hasn't grabbed as much as Twilight Tutoring, which has been way more successful. So we don't want to give up on that, but we've pulled back on it a little bit, and we've sort of restructured some of the things we're doing in order to get a bigger group of the students. So that's another way. And then of course the thing that is most common is after school opportunities as well. So we haven't done that as much other than the evening ones with Twilight Tutoring, simply because again, kids are kind of, have been overwhelmed, teachers have been overwhelmed during this process. And so during the day was a good opportunity, and then this evening thing where the teachers are already at home with their families and then able to support kids if they have time. So the after school, we've been a little bit not ready to quite do that, but that's another opportunity. But the key here is that we're just keep trying to find ways that we can use technology, that we can be flexible with people's time, because if you can, if you put your kids to bed at 7 o'clock and you want to start tutoring, right, like for an hour or something, we want you to be able to do it. So any way that we can do. So there's actually a bunch of different things. We're just kind of sort of picking our battles at this time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I have another question. In your, again, what now slide, it says increase teacher autonomy, which I think is great. Can I just tell you, some fears when I see that? I'm sure probably Susan knows where I'm going to go with this, but there was a time where our teachers had great autonomy, and then we didn't have that vertical alignment with our curriculum. So how do you propose, or how do you, and I just want to put that out there because I think it's great, but I saw what the district went through when we had that, and I think and as you see in the numbers, we've made great progress, but how do you keep that vertical alignment, give them that autonomy, and
So I think this is really focused on instruction. So curriculum is what we are aligning, as a district, K-12, but the instruction, we want teachers to feel they have the ability to teach that skill in a way that is I don't want to say suitable, but that is plays to their strengths. Every teacher has different strengths. And when we roll out this curriculum, teachers collaborate together, so they have a tendency to do what the person next to them do and teach it this way. We want to instill that confidence in our teachers to use their strengths to be able to take that vertically aligned curriculum, but instruct it in a manner that suits their strengths and take more risks and be confident in them doing that right now. Right now they work lockstep a lot of times with their PLC, which is great, but we want to encourage them to branch out and try new ideas within the instructional portion of their classroom.
So we're not saying changing the standards by teacher, and we're not saying change the expectations by teacher. What we're saying is giving them more discretion, flexibility to teach at the same, to teach in a manner that yields the same outcomes consistent with what the standards are and what the assessments are. So yes, Susan, would you agree with that?
100%. The way we talk about it is we're building the picture frame, right? And we want teachers to color in inside the frame, right? So that's really what we're doing. We're saying these are the standards, these are the guidelines, these are the expectations, right? Every student is learning, there aren't like different goals for different kids. The kids are out, we want them to get to the same end. But my makeup of my class, the students in front of me, the teacher's strengths, the teacher's history and experience, all those things come into play in terms of the instruction piece in the classroom. So as long as we're operating inside that frame, the picture could look different for each teacher, but the goals are the same. And I think that, there's definitely a period when you're switching to this sort of methodology where it feels more constricting, right? Because it's like, no, I have to reteach and I have to give this formative assessment and I have to, provide feedback on this, this rubric. And so there's a part of that feels more constricting. But once teachers get comfortable in the methodology, then it opens the door a lot more for them to have more flexibility in that instructional piece. So really what we're doing, like I said, is building that frame, and we want teachers then to have some freedom inside that frame.
Okay, thank you. When I see that, just some questions that
look, we couldn't be more against an educational lottery, right? We want kids to
we had that once.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure we don't go back.
We want all second graders to get what they need to be successful. So yes.
Last question in the library spaces, and you talk about LLCs. I mean, they definitely have come a long way, and I do appreciate the purging and bringing in the new books, because I know I've seen stuff from when I was here, and dare I say, I'm older than Dr. Center, so it's great. But in reimagining our libraries, and we look at elementary, we do see some schools that have the maker spaces,
that's right. Yep.
And some that don't. And then in our middle school and here in the high school, I guess I'd like to see how, as we reimagining them, are we also, as we do with our curriculum, bring them more into a line? Is that also what we're imagining for them?
Yes, all of our elementaries do have makerspace materials, so they are all equipped, but some buildings have been able to purchase additional makerspace materials. So at a minimum, everybody does have makerspace materials there. We have not been able to capitalize during the pandemic on that because our LMAs have been going to the elementary classroom. We're just now getting students back into the libraries now in all of our buildings. So during the pandemic, we haven't been able to have that open space. Pre-pandemic, if you came into the high school during any period, this library was jam-packed with students working, collaborating, writing papers, checking out books, just relaxing in here. And so we are looking forward to getting that space back, of having that opportunity once things hopefully settle down with the pandemic. And as far as turning our libraries at elementary into LLCs, that is a long-term goal within there. So yes, that is part of the planning phase. New furniture even at all of our libraries. So that is part of a long-term vision with that, but it's been put on hold with the pandemic because we haven't been able to use the spaces in the way that we envision pre-pandemic.
And I know I completely understand it, but is there a more definitive timeline that you're looking at with that?
So we have, the high school, for example, we have drawings of what this library space could look like. You know, what type of furniture we would purchase. We have the same, obviously, for the LLCs from the original projects. The middle school is a little bit trickier, especially at McGee, because they've had to carve up their library a little bit in order to make some offices. So it makes it a little bit more challenging at the middle schools just because of how they've had to use their libraries. But really that vision, right? And our new district librarian is fantastic. And she has really, I think, superior vision for like what these can look like, this sort of modern library space with more collaboration, more kids talking, you know, quiet study areas, active study areas, like different things, moving the books around so that it has flow. There's a whole bunch of things we've been talking about. But as always, resources, right? We have to have the money to be able to do it. And during the pandemic, we've, because the spaces aren't being used, it wasn't wise to spend money in spaces that are essentially vacant. And so we've redirected funds other places. So just being fiscally responsible, we're trying to come up with a plan to do sort of a little bit at a time. So that's part of the conversation. But, you know, at this time, we just have redirected resources based on the needs from the pandemic.
Thank you. I appreciate the presentation.
I want to just make a quick comment, kind of going back a little bit to what you said as far as, you know, we don't want teachers going rogue or the lottery, which was funny. But I have the unique perspective, and I'm a little on the dance floor with this, so forgive me, but I do have a second grader. And so because he was, you know, in lockdown for the last like year and a half or two almost, we got kind of the perspective to see the material that he was being taught. And I have to say it was impressive because in particular in 22, you talk about focusing on building students' conceptual understanding through the hands-on manipulatives. I feel like if that had not been put into play prior to the pandemic, he would have just given up. But the teacher was so engaging in the way she presented it. There was two teachers, but the way that they were engaged, so he had, you know, the things that he could play with in order to process the math and stuff. It was just unique to see it because you never are in the class with them, you know, as a parent. It's just not something you see that often. But because they were home and on the e-learning, we could see him doing it and see him engaging and enjoying it. And it wasn't a perfect situation at all, but I was very impressed by how it kept him kind of engaged in the process and almost enjoying it, even though it was, you know, he wasn't with his friends or anything. So I wanted to just comment on that, kind of commend you guys, because I think that I think you're on the right track with this, and I think seeing it in person really made a difference. And like the way, you know, witnessing it was crazy. So I'm very impressed. I just wanted to thank you guys for all your effort.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, real quick. I can't thank Sarah and Chris enough. I've asked them to put, you know, we talked about putting this together and what Dr. Mendoza said earlier. These guys have stewarded their visions and have worked with teachers across the district and everything else and have come up. They are just so fantastic. I could not be happier and prouder to be working with them. And I'm just glad that they got a chance to show you kind of the outcome of all of their labor. So I'm proud of them.
All right, next up is our 2021-2022 Health and Life Safety Inspection results.
All right, thank you. I'd like to present to you the results of this year's Regional Office of Education visit. Every year, the Regional Office Superintendent sends out an inspector that comes out and looks at how our schools are doing compared to the codes that we are bound to. The previous year, we had a lot of different type of infractions, and they ranged anywhere from failed emergency lighting, available fire extinguisher and detectors, a need for flammable storage cabinets, replacement of broken ceiling tiles, and a lot relation to furniture that wasn't coded for, you know, use in a school, and or curtains and window treatments. This year, in order to prepare for that, we worked collaboratively with the leadership in TNL, and we required every principal to conduct a pre-inspection with their lead custodian. We also provided them a list of key things like verifying the boiler certificate was there, going through and testing all the exit lights, checking to make sure there wasn't any window treatments, looking to make sure that the visuals for the fire alarm are working, etc. We also required a secondary inspection by principals and the lead custodian 1 day prior to their site visit. There was a 3-day process for the inspector to get through all of our schools. And the last was that Mr. Corey Fink, the coordinator of crisis and safety, and I went the day before their inspections and did another inspection with the principals to highlight anywhere between a day and a week before. Good news for our district is the number of infractions at each building decreased significantly. No building was cited for having inappropriate furniture and or window treatments. No building was cited for having emergency lights and or exit lights that did not work. The new focus of the inspector this year was related to carbon monoxide detectors, heat detectors, electrical panel access, and the need to add or change doors. We have already in the process of addressing all of the infractions that we had this year. But I want to highlight that the Early Childhood Center and the ASC as combination, Village Elementary and McGee Middle School had 1 infraction and Round Lake Middle School had 2. The 1 infraction that the 3 schools had, I would say to you, were not anything that they would have known before the inspection. It was related to doors, or it was related to needing a smoke detector above a copier. Nothing that they could have prevented. Very similar to the ones at Round Lake Middle School. Highlight is though that Ellis Elementary School passed the inspection with 0 infractions. The inspector who was doing it said that at the time, and this was November, that he hadn't had any school that went with 0 infractions. So I thank you for your support during this, your guidance and your high expectations that we improve in this area. And thank you to TNL for Dr. Rowling and Ms. Kiewitz, who helped support the principals to become a better participant in this inspection, in this event, as they really lead their buildings, not only in education, but in making sure that you have a safe, secure, and a welcoming environment. So just wanted to give you an update and congratulations to the board for how they performed in terms of this inspection. Thank you.
Mary, thank you also for being, I think we'd probably all agree Mary is an I dotter and a T crosser, and really appreciate your diligence with this, Mary. I think that's the best life safety inspection report I've seen.
Definitely is. During my tenure on the board, it is definitely the best one we've ever seen. So we definitely appreciate everyone's work and diligence, and as you said, keep maintaining the safety and operational measures that our buildings and our children deserve.
Thank you.
All right. Unfortunately, it's not meeting adjourned, and it keeps getting colder in here. But next up is the Strategic Plan Monthly Report. Again, just a review of the monitoring tool. A lot of green. Everything looked very good on there. Dr. Mendoza, anything you want to point out?
No, not given the lengthy Ela Math, but it kind of just reiterates that when we actually, we're putting those green, this was a reflection of all the green you've seen in the area of teaching and learning, so I don't have anything specific.
Perfect with that then. Next up is we're back to everyone's favorite topic. What are we throwing out this week?
It's just always exciting to get a shout out from Ms. Fontana for the important work that we do here.
See, it's called foreshadowing. Any questions at all for the disposable materials? Nothing crazy in there. Looks like a lot of old uniforms and athletic equipment. All right, well, hearing no questions, we will move on then. Thank you. Contracts under 1,000, looks like we do not have anything on the contracts under 1,000. So hearing nothing on that one, we will now step in and go to Superintendent's Report. Take it away, Dr. Mendoza.
Thank you, Board President Francisco. The district hosted a one-day COVID booster clinic for the staff on Friday, January 21st. 145 staff members received their booster at this event. I'd like to thank the Lake County Health Department for their continuous support over the last 2 years. I'd also like to thank Dr. Apgar and the team for organizing this event for staff. The outdoor sponsor sign for Kia was delivered today. The district anticipates receiving an update from Nevco and other related vendors regarding a solution for the scoreboard backing that will allow for posting of the sponsor boards this week. The indoor sponsor board has been printed and is being assembled this week. The board will be notified about the indoor sponsor board install and any other updates related to the outdoor sponsor signage as soon as they become available. Sponsor sales are on hold until the back of the scoreboard solution is determined. Additionally, Kia representatives will attend tomorrow's varsity boys basketball game as the halftime sponsor. That concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Mendoza. Any questions for Dr. Mendoza? All right, hearing none, we will move into committee reports. I know we had a finance committee today, so finance committee update.
Yes, thank you. The Finance Committee met earlier this evening on our agenda. As we already heard, the presentation from Organic Life. Look forward to the Pizza Challenge. The financial audit, again, as you had heard, our auditors were here from Ela Casella. And then just to mention and reiterate, the Finance Committee does meet with the auditors before and after the audit, reviewing the audit report that you had in your board packet and that was handed out to us. In our review after the audit with Dr. Kibbins and Dr. Lamping and the auditors, just because we do read that from cover to cover, page to page, and all material listed. Just to point out, in our introduction letter, just some things we've asked administration just to keep the letter consistent is noting the paragraph with Calvary is noting the funds that are used to purchase it. If you read the letter, it notes all the funds of things that we've purchased. We didn't list Calvary because it wasn't purchased with ESSER money or we went out for referendum, any of that. But just so when the public reads it, they note how we purchased Calvary. And then, in reviewing the audit, as you heard the auditor mention about our grants and title monies, in review of that, again, the audit was great, and as she mentioned, no findings. The Finance Committee thought it would bring, and now mentioned again with future agenda items, is, and we've already talked to Dr. Mendoza, to bring all those grants and title monies forward to the board for review. Especially we have a new board member, and I know we look at this stuff and kind of breathe the financial reports, but to bring together what all those title monies and grants that come in to the district, how they're used, making sure we're using them, we're not giving any of those monies back, because if we don't use them, we lose them. So we want to make sure that we're using that money. So Dr. Mendoza mentioned that he'll bring it when we do the budgeting process, and they'll bring that forward then for the board to get a deeper dive into that. And then, as you heard the auditor mention, Dr. Kibbins and Dr. Lamping, the business office, always great to work with, and they did a great job. And then, they did mention about less than 10 journal entries. That is amazing. Again, during my tenure on the board and with Finance Committee, there was a time where we had way too many. And having been an auditor before, I know that we had too many, so it's nice to see that, hear that number. So again, thank you to Dr. Kibbins and everyone for the audit report. And then, as you heard Dr. Lamping on the health, life, safety, again, it's amazing. And again, the years I've been on the board, that is definitely the best one. So again, I appreciate everyone's diligence. And as you heard Dr. Lamping mention, no exit lights that are burnt out. We'd always sometimes see that on the report, and it's like, Why do we have that? That's normal housekeeping. We should be keeping track of that. So amazing job to the custodian leads and everyone involved. The high school theater sound system and the stadium sound system, those are continue to moving on task. The theater sound system, again, we're gonna, that's still being procured, and then they'll come back with what that final number will be. Again, it was targeted at $277,000. They will go through a walkthrough with the vendor selection, and the final completion and walkthrough will be August of this year. The stadium sound, again, that was regarding the feedback that we've heard regarding last graduation. Again, going through the RFP process, and again, everything is on target for that. I think I just crossed those, but everything for graduation should be done for graduation in May of this year. And again, that is coming out of Fund 60. The E-rating, it's again, we didn't do that last year with the pandemic. So the infrastructure refresh utilization for the E-rating, E-rate funding, excuse me, again, is about 1.1 million district-wide. That will come back to the board on March 23rd, a meeting with the E-rate, with the award, and be completed this summer. And I know later on the agenda, just a quick preview, is prom 2022. The contract is on the board for approval. The Finance Committee went through the contract, and I know they'll speak to this about the 60-day clause, and then where we might not be with COVID. The numbers. So not to spoil too much, I know they'll go over it, but we really want to make this happen for these students. So Dr. Center has offered some funding out of the teaching and learning so that we can make sure this happens. But you'll hear more to come. And PMA financial advisory agreement. Again, this is going to come on the February 28th. And Dr. Kibbins and Tammy from PMA, this is where we're going to talk about refunding and restructuring some of our debt. So that will come forward, the contract will come forward in February 28th. I always look forward to that. Hopefully you will too.
I have a quick question about that. We have the approval of the financial advisory agreement, right?
Yes.
Tonight, is that, it's similar to the ones we've had before, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, I read it and I couldn't remember, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and again, it's a percentage base, so there's no hard number attached because it depends how we restructure and read that. So to say, that's why it's an agreement on the letter, not an agreement on a cost.
Right, okay. And then and everything as well.
Yeah, everything goes through
Okay.
Pam and Dr. Mendoza, and everything goes for our
Okay.
attorneys.
I just wanted to check, thank you.
And we've used PMA forever, not forever, but it's been a long time. Yes. And then, again, I always encourage you guys to look at the treasurer's report. And again, no contracts under 1,000. And I believe that is everything we had on the finance agenda. Mr. DeVera?
Nothing else.
That's it. Any other questions?
Hearing no other questions for the Finance Committee update, we will move to some approval of open meeting minutes.
All right, I need a motion to approve the January 10th, 2022 regular board meeting minutes.
Again.
Motion by Mr. Tavera, seconded by Ms. Lee. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Klingler?
Abstain.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Miss Lee? Yes. Mr. DeVera?
Yes.
Mr. Francisco?
Abstain.
Mrs. McGinley?
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the January 10th, 2022 special board meeting expulsion hearing minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jewett, seconded by Ms. Lee. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. McGinley?
Yes.
Mr. Francisco?
Abstain.
Mr. DeVera?
Yes.
Miss Lee? Yes. Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler?
Abstain.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the consent agenda for the items of the accounts payable report for $2,434,662.14. Previous motions report for $178,067.11. The December 2021 Treasurer's Report, the December 2021 P-Card Report, and the January 24th, 2022 Employment Report.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jewett, seconded by Ms. Klingler. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. DeVera?
Yes.
Mr. Francisco?
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley?
Yes.
Miss Lee? Yes. Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler?
Yes.
And the motion carries. All right, next up is new business, and looks like we got the approval of the 21 audit.
Yep, so I need a motion to approve the fiscal 2021 audited financials, accept and approve the financials as presented by the auditing firm Ela, and Company.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Francisco, seconded by Mrs. Klingler. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Klingler?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Miss Lee? Yes. Mr. DeVera?
Yes.
Mr. Francisco?
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley?
Yes.
Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the PMA Financial Advisory Agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jewett, seconded by Ms. Lee. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Miss Lee? Yes. Mr. DeVera?
Yes.
Mr. Francisco?
Yes.
Mrs. McGinley?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler?
Yes.
And the motion carries.
All right. I need a motion to approve the 2022 RLHS prom venue contract with the Grand Geneva.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Klingler, seconded by Ms. Lee. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. McGinley?
Yes.
Mr. Francisco?
Yes.
Mr. DeVera?
Yes.
Miss Lee? Yes. Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler?
Yes.
And the motion carries. All right, next up, we are at positive occurrences. I'll open the floor. It was great being able to be at a full wrestling meet over at McGee for the middle school right before the meetings tonight. Great to see the families in, the kids participating, and just being an open one. So again, it's just great to start seeing that back. I was able to attend a basketball game on Saturday. And see the boys basketball team in action across all the different levels. Again, it's just great to be back into buildings and to start having activities again.
I'll add, of course, it was a busy cheer weekend. They had the NLCC conference on Friday, and then Friend on Saturday, and Huntley on Sunday. So at the NLC on Friday, our JV team misplacing by 1 point, but they did so good. It would have been so awesome for them to place. And Huntley JV took 5th place, and at Friend they took 5th place. Sectionals is this Saturday at Belvedere North, so it is a bit of a drive. But most of them are live streaming, so I know they put out there at From and Huntley, usually their respective high schools' athletics you can find on YouTube, and you can see the competitions. But our JV team in the 3 years have brought home 9 trophies, so it's really good. And then, of course, we have basketball, boys and girls, this week.
And I'll also throw out there, it's actually Winter Guard is really going to be starting to kick up here. Pretty active. This is that time of year. Well, she had last week off, so
I was totally gonna bring that up, and actually the cheerleading, but yeah. And then they have a showcase here, I think, February 2nd, so come see, you guys. We're hosting.
I have a non-sport. So on this, so I'm really proud of the school and how it supports the community. So there has been a reduction of food distributions that have been going on in the community because of the winter. And there is a group that is leading a distribution. It's with Michelle Hill, and she's coordinated a bunch of volunteers at McGee Middle School. So it's going to be Wednesday night. On top of that, Heather had put communication in the newsletters and have been putting communication out about the overall resources in the community, and that doesn't happen everywhere. And so I'm really proud of the district for that.
Also, I feel like we'd be remiss if we didn't point out that we have an award-winning superintendent.
all right, we'll wrap that one up and we'll slide into future agenda items. Anyone have anything they want to make sure that we're highlighting? Dr. Mendoza, I talked with you about it just as a reminder, see about where we're at when it comes to pandemic challenges to the pre-K and the birth to 4 and all of that.
Oh, yeah.
And then again, I know Dr. Mendoza already agreed to that, again, reporting out on our title and grant monies to the board.
Anybody else? All right, well, it looks like we've got an approval of closed session meetings that were reviewed last week. All right, any questions in regards to that? Then if I can, let me get a motion.
I need a motion to approve the closed session meeting minutes of December 20th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Jewett, seconded by Ms. Klingler. Roll call, please.
Mrs. McGinley,
Yes.
Mr. Francisco,
Yes.
Mr. DeVera,
Yes.
Miss Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Jewett,
Yes.
Mrs. Klingler.
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, well, that will bring us to the close of tonight's session. We do have a closed session here, so for everyone online, the 3 or 4 people that are still online, thank you for watching. We look forward to coming back to you here in 2 weeks. And I will take a motion to go into close.
So moved.
Second.
And now I can actually read it for what I really need to. Closed session meeting minutes, discussion of minutes, meeting lawfully closed under the OMA, whether for purposes of approval of the body of the minutes or semi-annual review of the minutes as mandated by section 2.06, 5 ILCS 120/2 C21, and evidence or testimony presented in open or hearing or in closed hearing where specifically authorized by law to quasi-adjudicated body as defined in the Open Meeting Act, approved that the body prepares and makes available for public inspection a written decision setting forth its determinative reasoning, 5 ILCS 120C4, and security procedures, school building safety and security, use of personnel and equipment to respond to an actual threat or a reasonable potential danger to the safety of employees, students, staff, of the public or public property, 5 ILCS 122/C8.
Moved.
Oh, sorry, yeah, and I also missed the employment matters, 5 ILCS 1, and litigation, 5 ILCS 120. We're done now. Thank you.
Just Mary.
I second.
So moved.